Welcome back. And while we're talking about sustainability in agriculture, it's important to talk about palm oil, which is used in packaged food products, detergents, cosmetics, along with other various sectors. When grown unsustainably, palm oil can damage forests, endanger communities and wildlife. At the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil held in Indonesia's Jakarta last week, I caught up with Joseph de Cruz, the CEO of RSPO, and spoke to him about the challenges of adopting sustainability in palm oil industry.
I guess the palm industry has been dealing with how we can be sustainable for a very long time now. So our organization, the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil, was set up almost 20 years ago, precisely to create a space for all the stakeholders in our industry to come together on how we can, first of all, make this industry sustainable, and secondly, be able to demonstrate and articulate what sustainability means for our industry. It's been a tremendous journey over the last 20 years, but I think we've made a lot of progress.
So why did it have to come in being to begin with? I mean, are the challenges anywhere close to being eradicated?
Well, it came into being because there was a strong concern about the question of sustainability within the palm industry. Going back 20 years ago, there was a lot of concern very validly about deforestation, about the conversion of large amounts of tropical forests to grow palm because of the tremendous demand, but also other concerns over the years around forest fires, around climate change, and increasingly now also about the working conditions of our workers and the communities within which we work. So the RSPO has been a platform for us to engage on these conversations and demonstrate that it's possible to find solutions.
Let me start with India itself. And do you see a lot of sustainable procuring happening from India?
I think the trend in India has been very promising. So for the longest time in our conversations with India, a genuine concern, I think, on the part of many MNCs and others was whether the Indian market was able to absorb what they saw as the additional cost of sourcing sustainably. Now, two things I think have shifted. I think first of all...
Would you say there's a lot of premium when you talk about palm and then sustainable sourced palm?
Interestingly, no.
Okay.
So for a long time, I think there was a concern and a perception that the price of sourcing sustainably was quite high. In reality, increasingly, I think many of our members have started to realize that the incremental difference is tiny. In fact, our colleagues at WWF did an analysis just last year that broke down the cost on the supermarket shelf of various products if you use sustainable palm in it versus conventional products. And you're talking about fractions of a percentage point in many cases. So I think that business case for using sustainable products has become stronger. And increasingly also, you have, I think, a consumer base in India that's starting to value sustainability in their products. And when we talk about palm products overall, you're obviously not just talking about the cooking oil on the shelf. You're talking about ingredients that go into cosmetics and perfumes and chemicals and household detergents and others. And in these markets, I think the Indian consumer has definitely become a market that prioritizes sourcing sustainably and using responsible products.
Interestingly, Indonesia, where we are right now, is the largest producer, exporter of palm oil, and India is the largest importer of palm oil.
Yes.
Do you see India continuing to hold that #1 position in imports?
I think certainly given the growth in demand in India, our projections are looking at a compound annual growth rate of around 5.6 to 5.8% over the next few years in demand for our products. And I think given the nature of the growth, not just in the population of India, but in the economy of India, we certainly expect to see significant growth. Because of course, as Indian consumers also become wealthier, and consumption patterns change, you will see a shift into using and consuming products that contain more vegetable oils. So yes, absolutely.
All right, so the Indian consumption of palm oil is expected to increase by 5.6 to 5.8% going forward. But also on the sidelines of the conference, I met with Saugata Niyoshi, who is the CEO of the palm oil business at Godrej Agrovet. I began by asking him about the government's national mission on edible oils, which aims to increase palm oil production within India.
This scheme is aspiring to cover 1 lakh hectare, additional 1 lakh hectare per year, and 6.5 lakh hectare in fact in next 5 years.
Okay.
So 2021 it has launched. So 22 has been about 65,000 hectare area addition, which is again remarkable, one of the highest in single year.
Okay.
This 23, I am confident we are going to cross 1 lakh hectare. And that gives a belief that yes, 6.5 lakh hectare is achievable by 2027.
All right. So, you know, the concerns that we have in Indonesia and Malaysia right now about creating damage to forest and biodiversity, etc. That's not the case in the Indian markets. So why has India seen such a big delay in launching palm oil mission?
So yes, there is a lot of myth about deforestation in India, but let me assure you, this is a absolute oil palm scheme in India, which is launched by Government of India. State governments are partner. It's definitely not something which we see in other part of the world, because to be precise, about 110 million hectare of agriculture land we have, and we are talking about conversion of only 1 million hectare. We don't need forest to convert, very frankly.
But
so
is it going to be a problem about water? Because we understand palm needs a lot of water.
I'm going to cover that.
Okay.
So a lot of area is crop to crop conversion, and very little from wasteland conversion, but no forest conversion. Let me tell you one more important aspect of this scheme. These are state and center funded scheme.
Okay.
The moment a farmer become on board for this crop, his entire land records, which is owned by him, which is obviously not a forest land, and comes into picture, and that validation happens, and then he become eligible for this program, where the entire about 1.5 lakh subsidy for next 3 to 4 years he is going to be entitled for.
All right.
And that makes the entire expansion keeps away from the gamut of deforestation.
What is the kind of demand that India is looking at in sense of palm? I mean, our dependence on imports is really high, and within that, in that basket, palm is really on the top there. So where do you see the demand going forward from here?
The demand, projected demand from current level, it is about 9. I think minimum 25% increase in next 5 years. But the problem is that India is not producing that much. What the best we can do is by 2030, we can touch 2.5 million ton with the kind of progress. But still, it will not be even 25% of the total demand. So hardly we will be meeting 20%. We still have a lot of dependency on import.
All right, that's the view from Godrej. That 25% increase in next 5 years is what you could see in sense of India's palm demand. But to also understand how the demand for sustainable palm is rising and how customer mindsets are changing, I also caught up with Kamal Seth of Worldwide Fund, Cecilia of Indonesia palm oil producer Wahana, and also with the Jubilinda Sasanta of Dutch-Belgian food retail group Ahold Delhaize. Here's what they told me in Jakarta.
Food security is a major issue for countries like India, right? So you and I in an urban city can say, oh, this is healthy, oh, this is not healthy. But if you speak to people, let's say in coastal India, for them, this is bread and butter, right? They cannot afford to buy other oils. And we know palm is the most efficient oil. So yes, you could debate about health till the cows come home, but the fact is it's about food security. So what we want to see is that India progresses on its journey. The Indian importers, while buying from Indonesian and Malaysian exporters, show their commitment to say they do not wish to buy palm oil which is linked to deforestation or exploitation, and still meet the food security needs of the country, because that's where we are. Like, our growing population needs to be fed, and the masses are the ones who are consuming palm oil for, refined cooking oil, for example. So you and I might not use it in our kitchens in urban India, but that's not the majority of the country.
Oh, absolutely. When you talk about deforestation, we've seen various stringent laws coming from the European Union as well. I mean, we've all been talking about that. Where do you see that standing, and what needs to be corrected, not just from European Union, but other countries as well?
So let's use an example. When we travel to any European country, sometimes we have this, knack for going for Indian snacks. The moment you go, you will find that a lot of Indian processed food has been exported by Indian exporters to the European market. And now the EU has come with the EU deforestation law, which clearly says that no products that reach the EU borders can be linked to deforestation. So I think that's a risk that businesses face, not just in India, but around the world, that if you're not going to meet the regulatory requirements of the European Union, and we see that it's going to be followed by the US and UK as well, to protect the forests around the world. So there's a risk, but the opportunity lies in saying, okay, if we export to the EU market, we are giving you ingredients which are sustainably sourced, which becomes a snack item or a processed food or a personal care item.
From the retailer perspective, I think if we are, we want to collectively take actions of to use sustainable product. We know there are a lot of going on in the upstream industry, but when it comes to the downstream, I think customers, our consumers, cannot be left behind. they have to be understand, and they have I think they need to take actions and collaboratively together with retail take the actions so for a sustainable environment.
Would you say the competition isn't enough, not too much right now? Not too many people are doing this, or do you think there is a high awareness right now and that more and more companies like yours are stepping in?
Yeah, we feel there is a growing need, and the consumers are already seeking for a product with eco-label. So as a retailers, I think it's really time for us to provide options for our customer, for the consumers, eco-label product. And one of them, of course, the sustainable cooking oil, which is having RSPO certifications. Yeah.
Belinda, how is it priced? Is it priced differently if I buy palm oil and then I buy sustainable palm oil?
Yeah, there is a gap on price, and we are working on it, and we are trying from time to time to reduce the gap. We do a lot of education, we do a lot of promotions, and of course that's not our main source of profit, because the main thing is to educate them, to create awareness and the need of this eco-label product.
I think in terms of being in this industry, it is so important to find a good solution for a sustainable long-term balance between supply and demand, of course. And Indonesia being a leading player of palm oil, it is our important role to play in this industry.
Indonesia does a lot of things. When you look at the government measures, how as industry would you look at those?
In terms of government measure, we do have support from the government. It is a strong support for the industry. It is one of the leading industry in Indonesia. We are regulated by the government measures, and we are, I think, still the most competitive market in the world. Indonesia as the leading palm oil, just simply because our strong population, the growth, and the investments from other companies, other countries as well in Indonesia, that makes the industry grow to another level.
Where do you see more demand coming in from as we go ahead from here? Because we all know that palm oil, while you said most of your buyers are food companies, but with the kind of demand that we've seen from pharma and cosmetics and detergents, the market is just growing.
The market is growing. Palm is used in almost everything that you see on the table, dining table, even on your makeup table, right? So it is a very important and leading industry. The strong demand that we see in our company in particular, of course, in the food and nutrition-related business, there are things that we supply to biodiesel as well, and that's another level, because there's a certain awareness. While probably not RSPO, they have other measures of sustainability.
All right, that is really the cue coming in when it comes to sustainability, that population is only growing, the land is not, so the yields have to be taken higher, and sustainability is the only way forward, especially for palm, as we have been discussing. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Commodity Champions. Thank you for watching.